Well, turning now to the state capitol, where lawmakers considered a recently introduced bill aimed at addressing electricity planning and the cost of infrastructure for large electrical loads, which can put a strain on the power grid and lead to outages. This comes as a new report from ERCOT is raising some eyebrows. It shows unprecedented pressure on our state's power grid in the next few years and the potential for energy shortages. But KXAN's Avery Travis dug into these forecasts with a research scientist and joins us now to explain why these numbers are likely deceiving. Avery.
Daniel, thanks for having me. We took a look at what's called the Capacity, Demand, and Reserves Report. Now, this is something that ERCOT puts out regularly. It's a snapshot of what could happen in the future of the Texas power grid, and part of it showed demand could skyrocket from now until 2029, 7.5 times faster than that demand has grown in the past. I want to show you this graph. It was actually built not by ERCOT, but by UT research scientist Joshua Rhodes. He's been tracking ERCOT data over time, and he put this together to show just how stark this increase is. You can see the change where that CDR report marks its forecast, and you see that sharp incline compared to prior years. He says in part because of population growth in Texas, we talk about this a lot, it translates to more people and businesses wanting to plug into the Texas power grid. But also in part, and maybe primarily, because of changes in how this forecast now works. For example, in 2023, Texas lawmakers passed a bill that in part requires ERCOT to consider what's called unsigned load in this forecast. That really just means every potential project in the works and anyone who is even just talking about connecting to our power grid.
Before, we wouldn't really count those loads until, they had gotten further in the process, put some skin in the game, put some money down. But now we're kind of counting everybody. And in this new world, in this race of AI, it's a lot of people who might want to get power, and it's driving up the numbers much faster than they have in the past.
The goal with the legislation, from our understanding, is to try and better keep up with demand and better plan for those large consumers Daniel mentioned. That's everything from data centers for artificial intelligence and cloud storage services to green hydrogen hubs and cryptocurrency mining operations. Rhodes says the positive of calculating the numbers this new way is it can help the state be more proactive in building out infrastructure to support a future surge in demand. It's of course something they're talking about again this session with the Senate bill Daniel mentioned. But the con, he says, is these eyebrow-raising numbers make it hard for policymakers and researchers like him to make heads or tails of what's going on and make accurate recommendations. Daniel, we reached out to the lawmaker who authored that House bill that we referenced for some context, and we'll let you know when we hear back from their office.
All right, Avery, thank you very much for that insight.